All right, everyone. Thanks for taking a look at our video. We are here today in our first series talking to some of the high Illinois AAU programs and trying to introduce some of the top programs out there and let them get to tell a little bit about their history and help us learn about them. And today we're talking with the Chicago Hoops Express. We're lucky to have a lot of their alumni and current players on. So I'm going to turn it over right away to Jerald Davis, JD, to tell the story of Chicago Hoops Express. So JD, go ahead.
Okay, thanks for having me. I want to start out and I want to acknowledge two people, well, three, but Steve Hudson, who recently passed with COVID, and also D'Angelo Sawyer, who has been in the hospital for about a month with COVID. D'Angelo coached with us, and Steve, who was a real strong presence on the boys' side with the Lady Fire. His wife, Monica, actually coached with Hoops Express for a few years. So I just want to send some prayers out to their family, and also send prayers out to every family that might be struggling right now from a health perspective with COVID. First thing I want to do is before I even introduce the individuals who are here, I'd like to acknowledge the coaches in our program. And the reason that I want to acknowledge them first and foremost is no one in life, whether it be a basketball program, a business, or just even a family, can truly be successful by themselves. The people around them are really key and critical in an organization simply being successful. Chicago Hoops Express through the years has probably had about 3 mutinies where having the wrong people in our program, around our program, actually caused this problem. And certain points we lost players, but for the most part, we've managed to stay strong for the last 26 years, just simply because of the character and the commitment of those individuals who have actually helped coach and run this program. Back in 1999, Andre Harvey, who's actually the mayor of Bellwood, he joined the program and he's been the associate program director for the most part all of these years, and at the same time running the Lady Dribbler program, which is it's taken on a different role through the years. There was a point where the best players came to play with us. There was another point where they were our sister program. Hey, Tony Remedi is here. Can you mute? Put yourself on mute.
Me?
Yes, you. There was a point where they were our sister program, and then 3 years ago, we actually absorbed the Lady Dribbler High School program, and their youth program is our feeder program. So they've pretty much been around since day one. Andre Lewis, who's been with us since about 2008, he's actually the head coach at Kenwood High School and also a public school teacher. Leighton Scott, he actually runs the dribbler program, the youth program, but he coaches with us. He's a fire captain out of Maywood. Adrian McDaniel, who's only been with us for 3 years, but he spent quite a few years in the dribbler program before he full-time came over to Chicago Hoops Express. Shimona McDaniel, same. Shimona is actually the assistant coach at Hyde Park, and Adrian is actually an assistant coach at Michelle Clark. Corey Morgan. Corey has been with us since 2011, but Corey actually played for me when I coached boys, probably about 28, 29 years ago. So Corey coaches with us, and he's the head coach at Hyde Park. Then there's the last 2 coaches I'm going to introduce. I'm introducing them last because they're actually also the first 2 alum that I'm introducing. So Kimberly Coleman, who's the head coach at Trinity. Kimberly has probably been coaching with us the last 5 years or so. Kim was in our 2009 class. And then Marsha Smith, I think Marche Smith joined Hoops Express probably in about 2002, and she's pretty much been with me in one capacity or another for the last 18 years, but Marche was in our 2007 class. Next up on the list is, as far as our alum go, there's Desire Dee Dee Wheeler out of Dunbar High School. She played college ball at Arizona, and she was in our 2001 class. Then there's Cherie Welton. Cherie was in our 2004 class out of Thornwood. Cherie went 2 years to Wisconsin and finished her last 3 years at Northern Illinois. Next up is Angela Duglic. Angela is not, well, Angela just graduated, so she just crossed the line of being an alum. But she's also the reigning Illinois Miss Basketball, and she's a McDonald's All-American and a Jordan Brand selection. Alyssa Moore, who's up there with her hand on her chin, that's one of my daughters. She was actually here at home until yesterday when she took off to go back to school. Alyssa's in our 2017 class, and she's actually a redshirt junior at Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Devereaux Peters. Devereaux is 2007, former McDonald's All-American, I think drafted number 3 in the 2012 WNBA draft and got herself a couple of WNBA rings. It is 2, right, Devereaux? I didn't miss one, did I? All right. Tony Remedi, down there at the bottom, checking in from California. Tony was in our 2013 class out of Hinsdale South. Tony moved a few years ago to California and is making a whole lot of money singing. Then there's Kathleen Doyle. Kathleen actually was the number 14 pick in this year's WNBA draft out of Iowa. And Kathleen was in our 2016 class, and she also won Miss Basketball in 2016. Then there's Autumn Goodrum Davis. Now, Autumn stopped playing for me in 8th grade. She's my other daughter on the screen, but her insight is more based on the fact that she grew up in the gym with me. I think the first day she even came home from the hospital, we went to the gym. So Autumn is a senior at Denison right now. Well, I introduced Marche and I introduced Kim. And then there's Dr. Molly McGew over there. Molly is in our 2006 class, which was probably our biggest class, where we had 16 kids. I think 14 went Division I, and 6 went to the Ivy League. So Molly actually graduated from Cornell. Right? I think I covered everybody as far as my alum. Players. First up is Lauren Cohen. Lauren goes to Glenbard South. She's a 2021. Lauren has been with us probably since 7th grade, but she was with our feeder program, The Flash, and Lauren's older sister, Sarah, played for us as well. So Lauren has actually even been around us a few years longer than when she started playing. Zoe Belcher, a 2021 out of Kenwood. Isabella Ogliori, who's a 2021 out of Loyola. Whitney Dunn, a 2022 out of Kenwood. Dylan Van Fleet, where's Dylan? Okay, there's Dylan. So Dylan kind of crosses. Dylan is actually an alum, but we pulled her in because she still hasn't quite made her decision on where she's gonna go to college. So until she makes that final decision, she's not technically an alum yet. Jocelyn Doxey, a 2021 who came over from the Dribblers, so she's been with either program probably, I don't know, 10 years, a long time. Jocelyn goes to Proviso West. Sorry, Jocelyn. Layla Barakat. Layla is a 2022 out of Stagg. Layla's been with us. This will be her second season. And then last but not least is Savannah Childress. Hello, Savannah. All right, so I'll kind of jump into a little history lesson of Chicago Hoops Express, and then from that history lesson, I'll jump into handing it off to the alum, and I'm going to ask each alum to introduce themselves, kind of share what they may be doing right now, and maybe just give a short story about some experience that you had in Hoops Express that ties into your life now. Chicago Hoops Express is the oldest or the longest running program in the state of Illinois and one of the longest in the country. We've been in existence for 26 years. There are a couple of travel coaches around who have been around longer than that, maybe with different programs, but as a program, Chicago Hoops Express is the oldest. Program actually started back in 1994, and how it started, how we ended up at this place in time, it just was circumstance. I was hired to run a youth program for 17 to 21-year-olds in independent living situations at the Jane Addams Center, which is on Belmont and Broadway on the north side of the city. The reason I ended up getting that job as a side job is, one, I had a pretty diverse background in the sense of I had gone to an all African American high school, but then in college I was one of only 4 African Americans in my graduating class. So when they came out and they actually asked me to run this program, those things were critically important because the north side of the city is somewhat of a melting pot in the sense that the first girls team I had Russian, German, Filipino, Latin American, and they just felt that they needed someone who had a really diverse background. And actually through the years, these last 26 years or so, and as I go through the history, people will see it a little better. But one of the things that I believe that has made this program successful through the years is the diverse culture that we have had, diverse from the perspective of skin color, but also diverse from the perspective of just the thoughts and the minds of the individuals who've been part of the program. I think that diversity has brought so much, so many things to just the different individuals. So the experience has grown to be more than just basketball. And as you can see in the introduction, some way, shape, form, and fashion, all of these classes all the way back to the beginning are linked. And many of my former players often get a picture where they're out and about hanging out with each other. And it could be classes that are as many as 10 years apart. So basically when I got the position, at that particular point in time, back in 1993, case managers for those individuals never wanted to actually bring them to the center because at that point in time, you could not actually bill out if the clients were in the care of someone else. So by them bringing them to me and putting them in my care, they couldn't bill out. So for the most part, every weekend when I would show up at the center, there would actually be no one there. So the executive director of the Jane Addams Center asked me to start a youth program. So we sent some flyers out, and the first day I had 4 boys in the gym. Slowly but surely, it made its way up to 6 and made its way up to 8. And then we reached out to a YMCA that was a couple of miles away called the Lincoln Belmont YMCA to inquire about their youth basketball program. So we took all of those young men over to Lincoln Belmont YMCA, and that gave me access to quite a few other young men in that area. And basically we started a travel program that actually jointly represented the Jane Addams Center and Lincoln Belmont YMCA. After doing that for about a year, the Youth and Family Services Director, who was at the YMCA, asked me would I coach the girls team at the YMCA. So in 1994, very, very apprehensive, I decided to go to a practice, and I walked into a gym with about 6th, 7th, and 8th graders and tried it out. The one great thing is, and I can say, I've never ever from the beginning had a bad team. Those 6 kids had actually been playing at the Lincoln Belmont Y since they were little. So we pretty much started out competing for championships. And back then, that was during the time where the YMCAs had huge representation in the city. So we represented Lincoln Belmont Y. And at that time, there were about 10 to 12 YMCAs that competed every year in the YMCA program. Around 1996, one of the 8th graders we had named Lindsay Mangallen, she tried out for the Prairie State Games. And back during that period of time, the Prairie State Games, which were like the Illinois Olympics, were pretty huge, and every region had a team. So she tried out for the Windy City region team, and she didn't make the team. But the only way she would go try out for the team is if I actually came to the practice, and I was able to convince the guy who actually ran the Windy City team to let me run his practice. So I ran his practice. She did not make the team. And the next year, he decided not to coach, and he pretty much handed the team over to me. So once he handed the team over to me, we didn't actually have a high school team. And back in 1997, this was still when we were putting stamps on envelopes. There was no social media. So I crafted a letter, which I sent out to athletic directors in about 20 Chicago public schools. And from that, I was able to actually put my first team together with the group that I had of 2, picked up a couple kids from the north side, and then the rest of the team was filled out by kids from the Chicago public school system. So that was our first high school age team in 1997. And from there, things just kind of started falling together where I figured out, okay, if you're going to have a high school team, these are the things that you need to do. And back during that period of time, things are not like they are now. There weren't a lot of events. But back then, Daryl Kipp from the Illinois Hustle, he used to have some of the biggest events back then out at Maine West High School. So it was pretty easy to figure out what you needed to do as far as the tournaments that you wanted to play in, that you needed to play in. And then we started making some other contacts and picking up some other kids. Now, back during that time, the team names, we had two teams, so they each had an individual name. First name was Lincoln Belmont Lady Jazz, and then the second team, we called them the Windy City Express. So it hadn't quite morphed into having multiple teams and calling them all the same names and just distinguishing them by color or distinguishing them by number. We actually used to play under 2 different names with those 2 different teams. Right around 1999, from that team playing local, we received a call from a gentleman named Mike White. Mike White actually runs the All-Star Girls Report circuit out of the southern region, and he asked us to bring a team down to the Deep South Classic in Birmingham, Alabama. So by this particular point in time, I had enough kids from different areas to field 2 pretty formidable teams, and we were formidable enough that after going down to the Deep South Classic in 1999, we were actually offered a sponsorship by Adidas back in 1999. Now, for people who don't necessarily understand the strength of Adidas Nike, back at that particular time, Nike is to Nike what Nike is now, and Adidas was to Nike what the Under Armour circuit is to the Nike EYBL circuit. Those were the 2 biggest circuits, and during that particular point in time, in the late 90s and early 2000s, there were no regional circuits. So if you were one of the teams either on the Nike circuit or the Adidas circuit, that was huge for you. And us being sponsored by Adidas was significantly huge because it opened a lot of doors that maybe would not have been opened if we had not had the representation of Adidas. So within a short period of time, we were able to honestly become a powerhouse. The biggest thing that happened maybe was Andre Harvey in 1999 walking into my gym with 3 players. And all of them were Power 5 level players. One was Kyra Smith, her cousin Charlene Smith, who both ended up going to DePaul. And I think at this particular point in time, Kyra Smith is DePaul's all-time leading scorer with close to 3,000 points. That team also included Dee Dee Wheeler, who played at Arizona. And both of those kids in the 2005 class, I think they were the first kids from Chicago Hoops Express who were ever selected in the WNBA draft. At that particular point in time, 1999, we switched our name and our name became the support group. And the reason that our name was the support group is because the individual who sponsored us to go on the trip to the Deep South Classic in 1999, the youth organization that he ran was called the support group. So we played for 2 years as the support group, but after our second year plan for the support group in 2001, Adidas basically made us all choose a name that aligned with where you were from. It was basically to represent where you were from. So that's where Chicago came from. During that particular period of time, from maybe 1998 through, I think, 2007, we practiced out of Hoops to Gym. This is back when Hoops to Gym was a really big place. This is back when Michael Jordan was practicing there. It represented all of what Chicago basketball was. So that's where Hoops came from. And Express came for 2 reasons. During that particular period in time, I was still playing actively on the Pro-Am circuit. So I played on the Pro-Am circuit for BET, Black Entertainment Television, and the name of their team was the Express. And it also was reflective of my years when I was young, taking public transportation in Chicago, living on 95th Street and taking the Dan Ryan. And oftentimes you just used to get excited when an express train would come because you could get to your locations much faster than having to stop from place to place. So it took me a while, but that's where Chicago Hoops Express came up. So pretty much from 2001 on, we have continued to function under that name. During that particular point in time, especially my 2001 class, that was the most dominant team that I've ever coached. I think of the 11 players on that team, 8 went Power 5. We went that whole summer and we did not lose. And during that particular point in time, probably from about 2001 through about 2007, we were easily every year considered one of the top 5 programs in the country, not just in the state of Illinois, but in the country. And from 2000 through 2010, I think we averaged about 10 Division I players per year. And like I said, with the 2006 class, we had 14 kids go Division I out of 16. And then we followed that up with the 2007 class that had 2 McDonald's All-Americans, including Deborah Peters. And that particular class had 11 kids go Division I. So in a 2-year period of 28 kids, 26 went on to play Division I basketball, with about 20 of them ending up in Power 5 schools. We kind of floated along through the years. We remained pretty consistent as a strong program. As the years evolved, we ended up starting our own. Well, during that particular time, especially in the early 2000s, we did not have a youth program. Basically, we grabbed everybody in high school. Now, I still coached out of the YMCA on the north side, so some of those kids would evolve to us, but we didn't actually technically have a youth program. And as the years have gone by, youth programs have become essential simply because kids have started playing a lot earlier. And if you don't have a youth program as they get older, it's harder to get kids to move from one program to another. So we kind of experimented. We had our own little thing inside of Chicago Hoops Express for a couple of years. I think Marche played in that particular program. Then at a certain point, the 2 people who ran that program tried to hijack the younger kids in the program, so I had to take that back. And at that point, we started sending the younger kids in the program, we started sending them over to the Lady Dribblers. During that particular point in time, the Lady Dribblers had a smaller program where they were a community-based organization, but they had some elite players. So they would send the elite players to us, and they would run the community part of the Lady Dribblers separate. So we would send those kids who came into our program when they were younger than high school, we would actually send them over to the Dribblers, and the Dribblers would continue to nurture and grow their games until they got to high school. Probably around 2007, 2008, I think we were at our peak as far as a program. And the one thing is, you can't stay, it's really hard to stay on top year after year because so many different things change. The calendar changes. Now there's so many individual circuits. There's so many teams out of here. So to be able to stay, I think at that point, the philosophy changed from just being elite to just staying relevant, because individuals were trying to pick off players left and right, but we were able to manage to stay relevant and to continue to have elite players. And everything was pretty much rolling smooth until right around 2008. We had another mutiny because we had some coaches in the program who had a difference of opinion. But we were able to maintain, we were able to stay strong, we were able to push through. Both Marche and Kimberly Coleman, they were part of the highs and lows and the ups and downs. And when other people ran out on us, they stuck around and battled it through. We moved into about 2010 or 11. Adidas's grasp on things was starting to lessen. So Nike was continuing to grow as far as their strength. Well, something that had happened to us probably in about 2003, we picked up two kids from a youth program. I can't quite, Devereaux, what was the name of the program you played for? Illinois Elite. So Devereaux, Allison Jackson, and Samantha Woods, they played for a program called Illinois Elite. In 2003, all three of those kids moved over to Chicago Hoops Express. But uniquely at that particular point in time, when there was this big fight where Nike and Adidas were still battling each other, it was predetermined that Allison, Devereaux, and Samantha Woods, who were going to Fenwick, it had been predetermined that they were going to go play for the Illinois Hustle and be Nike kids. They and their families decided to come and play for Chicago Hoops Express, which basically started an internal war in the Chicago area in Illinois. So the agreement that most people don't really even know that I had to make in order to keep feathers from being ruffled, even though we were sponsored by Adidas, at that particular point, Adidas only had 2 required events that we had to go to in the South. So we tagged on and low-key became an affiliate organization with Blue Star Travel, Blue Star Basketball. That's the organization that does all of the USJN events. And in order to keep peace, we agreed to, hold on. Okay, Angela just called me. Is everything good? Okay, so at that point, we agreed.
I'm sorry, I just was, had sent a message, she probably is calling you from that, just saying that we need to move along a little bit or we're not gonna get everything done, so I hate to make you go fast, but.
All right, so we'll zoom through it. But let me kind of finish that thought. We agreed to play on the USJN circuit without it being our sponsor. Well, pretty much as we got down the road, that ended up saving us because in 2012, we decided to move away from Adidas in the middle of 2012. We finished out that year, and since then, we've been a Blue Star Travel team. So long and short, that pretty much is the history from the perspective of how the program evolved and how we've maintained. So I guess the next thing we'll do is we'll jump into the alum, and I'll call out their name, and then they can kind of introduce themselves and say a little bit of something, and then we'll just move from person to person. Is that good, Todd?
That's great. And ladies, as he does that, of course, remember to unmute yourself so we'll be able to hear you.
Okay, so we'll start with Desire Dee Wheeler.
Hi, you guys. I am here.
It's your show. Come on.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I apologize, you guys. I am currently moving from Chicago to Arizona, so I have a lot of things going on. You mind if you repeat the question or comment that you want me to respond to?
Well, just tell us who you are, what year you played for us. Tell us why you're going to Arizona, and maybe just share a quick snippet of something where what has Hoops Express helped you with, or just an experience that you had that you can reflect on.
Absolutely, and sorry about that. As Jerald said, I'm Dee Wheeler, biological name Desire Wheeler. Let's start with Hoops Express. As an inner city girl from Chicago, you don't really get the exposure of colleges outside of the Midwest. So playing for Jerald, I want to go back a little bit. Jerald has done a lot for me. I see Jerald as a father to me. Myself, and even in athletics, girls such as myself or athletes such as myself, we find coaches, not just your high school coaches, but your club and AAU coaches. It's not just mentors, but those coaches become fathers and mother figures. And Jerald has been that for me. So thank you, Autumn, for sharing him. And I'm sorry, I just knew Autumn when I was part of the program. I just remember we all would get picked up in his small little sedan that he had. And it was like 8 of us, but he made way and he got us to where we would need to go. But back to what I was saying, colleges don't come into the city to just recruit. So playing on the circuit of AAU ball, Jerald and Hoops Express, we was the support group. Now, am I dating myself? We were the support group at one point. But the exposure and playing in the different tournaments that AAU ball and Hoops Express afforded us allowed players such as myself to get the exposure to play at a college such as Arizona. And if I hadn't played AAU ball for Hoops Express, I may have not gotten that exposure. So I am very grateful and humble for that experience. I did attend the University of Arizona, and from University of Arizona, I was drafted to Los Angeles Sparks, and I had a small stint in Europe. I am currently relocating back to Arizona, which I consider my second home, and which I was recently hired as the district-wide athletic director or interscholastic director for sports. I'm returning because it was a community that embraced me, not just as a student athlete, but even in my adult life, I try to return annually. And it's awesome. I have a 6-year-old daughter and she loves Arizona. She's been a few times, but that's the type of environment that I want to raise my daughter in, especially my upbringing coming from not the best environment as a young girl growing up in the city of Chicago. But sports, as many of you may have decided to do the same as I did, I use it as a tool. In basketball, Hoops Express, it helped me use my tool and my talent of basketball to get out the city. And I've had worldwide experiences because of basketball and because of Hoops Express. So I am very thankful and I'm humbly grateful for the experience.
All right. Thanks, Dee.
I have to run though, you guys. I am trying to sell this house. I've heard some great things. I guess I am happy to meet you girls. You girls are awesome. Miss Basketball, WNBA champion on here. But you ladies are awesome. Hoops Express is continuously growing, and we're all family. We're sisters through that. And so nice meeting you all, and I just have to run. You guys stay safe and healthy.
See you later, Dee.
Bye-bye.
All right. Next up, Cherie Welton.
All right. Hi, everybody. I want to preface what I have to say on the fact that I will have to jump after I speak. I have a shoot that I have to run to. So, but Jerald, thank you for the opportunity to speak to everybody today. It's good seeing some familiar faces and some new ones as well. My name's Cherie Nicole Welton. I graduated, I think, was it 2004, Gerald? I'm old.
Yes, it was.
Graduated 2004. I'm currently a television producer. Produced for about 3.5 years for NAACP Image Award winner News One Now with Roland Martin, before transferring over to produce for about 3 years for Sister Circle Live, and currently working on some independent projects and planning on my next move. So I've been in TV for about a little over 9 years. So start out with Jerald, interesting story. I actually knew about Jerald Davis, I think from about 6th or 7th grade. And I had a teammate, Courtney Slaughter, who was a member of Hoops Express, who played for Jerald. And we played on the same middle school team. And another club team coach kind of scooped me up before Jerald could kind of get to me. And everybody was saying they didn't like each other. So I kind of like stayed away from Jerald because I was like, oh, my coach don't like him. They enemies. I can't ever play for him. But there was always something about his program. And just I watched. A lot of times we played in the same tournaments as Hoops Express at the time, and I watched them win. And it was always something that I wanted to be a part of, but was scared to try to like be a part of because I didn't want to be like a traitor or anything. So, you know, the skies opened up and things worked themselves out. And I ultimately started playing for Jerald. I believe it was the tail end of my sophomore year in high school, I believe. And finished out with him through my senior year in high school. I committed to the University of Wisconsin in the summer of my junior year. And along with, I think it was 4 of us. It was about 5. Was it 4 or 5 of us, Jerald? We all left Hoops Express, graduated the same year, and went to Wisconsin. Was it
4.
How many of us?
It was
4.
4.
Which was a great, I mean, who doesn't want to go to college with some of their closest friends? So interesting experience there. I was there for a couple years, but then transferred to Illinois University. But I will say for me, Jerald really taught me how to learn how to play, how to let the game come to me. How to learn how to score, look for different opportunities on the floor, how to be effective. When you are a star of whatever team you're on, a lot of times you're used to someone just looking for you, looking to give you the ball. But with Jerald, everybody's a star. And so you have to really utilize your ability to think smart and put yourself in a position to be effective. And that's not just scoring, that's defensively, that's getting rebounds, that's being able to make free throws. And so I learned how to really hone in on being an all-around player with Jerald Davis. And I also, you know, I don't necessarily have the story of, you know, I grew up rough. I didn't. Came from a 2-parent household, great family. But Jerald, you know, I was a little spoiled. So Jerald worked on me. I had a little bit of a mouth. It wasn't a smart mouth. I just was talking all the time. So he had to check me a few times to get me to understand that he was in charge. But, you know, just you know, Jerald had at that time, now Jerald, I'm going to put you out there a little bit. Because now I hear, you know, you're kind of a softie. But when we played, it was you like to yell, okay? You yelled quite a bit, and it's okay. You know, it made us better. We know you loved us and everything. But, you know, he got us prepared, at least for me. He got me prepared for the next level, which was Big Ten basketball. And so when you go, you're coached under a Jerald Davis, somebody who doesn't allow you to do anything other than be excellent. And then also understanding, like Dee Dee talked about, the father figure, the mentorship piece. I remember the last game I think we played for Jerald, the summer of my senior year may have been. And he just started crying. He was like, I love y'all. You guys are amazing. I'm going to miss y'all. We like, Jerald's crying? What in the world is this? But it was in those moments when we realized, like, you know, he got on us for a reason. And at the end of the day, he cares about us. He wants to see us succeed. Jerald has been in touch with me, you know, since I've known him. I still talk to him. We get to Chicago. We still meet up. And a couple of little quick stories for you guys, one of which I remember when I visited Wisconsin. And keep in mind, I've worked for Black media most of my career. I went to Wisconsin. We went on an unofficial visit. Jerald took me and one of my best friends, Akia Alexander. Some of you might know her. And I remember we were visiting with the coaches. And, you know, Wisconsin is a PWI school. And Jerald continued to ask about diversity. He kept asking, like, what kind of resources do you have available for African-American students? And me and Akia are like, who cares? Like, they have a Gatorade machine in the locker room. The campus is big. I don't care about any of this kind of stuff. Why do you keep asking? They want us to come to the school. But as I continue to mature and move on in my life, I realized that was a very important thing that he was doing. And he was trying to make sure that we would be cared for and that we'd be safe. And so I think that's one of the things that, you know, I want everybody to understand about Jerald is that at the end of the day, you know, he cares about every single player he has. He wants them to be successful, and he encourages them, whether it's in their post play for him, He encourages you in whatever area you want to be. If you want to go to the WNBA, he's going to encourage you. He's going to do whatever he can for you. If you want to be the best if I want to be the best television producer in the world, he's going to do whatever he can to help me in that regard. So he doesn't push you where you don't want to go, but he supports you wherever you want to go. Last story, Jerald probably told everybody this on the call before I got on there. One year, I think it was my junior year. Okay, for the young bucks, there used to be a time when you got on the internet and they had to, like, once you got on the internet, that's it. The phone don't work. The house phone, y'all probably don't even have house phones no more. The house phone didn't work. You got dial up, right? So I'm on the computer playing games, being dumb, not realizing it's a whole bus, a whole Hoops Express bus to Atlanta, to the tournament. They gone. They left me. I didn't even realize. I thought it was the next day. So I'm on the computer playing games. Finally get off the phone. The phone's ringing. Finally get off the computer. The phone's ringing off the hook. It's Jerald. He's like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "I'm at the house. What you talking about?" He's like, "We left. We went to Atlanta. You missed the bus." And I'm like, "What you mean I missed the bus? A fool!" So then I had to get one of my teammates' parents left out later, and I was able to jump on the bus with them. But it was crazy. Jerald reminds me about missing the bus every 5 seconds. You know, it's fine, but that's one of my favorite moments. But overall, I am a consummate professional in large part because of the tutelage of Jerald Davis, because of the teammates that I played with, because of the level of competition he always made sure we played in. We didn't play, you know, when we played games, when we went to travel to play games, it was real competition. Jerald put us in the best tournaments he possibly could. And so looking at my life, my basketball career, and even my career now as a professional outside of basketball, I owe a large part of my success to Jerald Davis and Hoops Express. So it has been an honor. I'm grateful that you called me, Jerald, to be a part of this. Very proud of everybody on here, those who are continuing to play basketball, you know, at the next level, those that are in college, those are still current players, those in the entertainment industry, turn up, coaching, everybody's doing something. And so I just want you all to be encouraged and be excited about your futures. And even now, I know it's tough what's going on, but, you know, great things are ahead. And Jerald, thank you once again for just, you know, lending your time and your talent and your heart to me and to all of your former and current players.
All right, Cherie.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, next up, we'll go with you, Deborah.
All right. I think my, stories are pretty similar to Cherie's. As Jerald kind of said, there was kind of a little bit of drama with me joining Hoops Express because I was supposed to be going to another team. And like Cherie said, like when you are coming up and a good player and you're like the star, you're used to being the star. You get to Jerald's team and everybody's a star, like she said, and everybody's good. And I think for me, that experience, like I think I was used to being catered to because I was usually the best player on teams, and Jerald shut that down first day of practice. I'll never forget my very, very first practice there. We were running an out of balance play. He was trying to teach me, and he told me to go. It was a line play. He told me I was the second person. He told me to go opposite of the first person. Whatever the first direction the first person go, I go the opposite direction. So I said, okay. And the person in front of me, I think it was Tatiana was in front of me. She faked left and then went right. So I went right thinking she was going left. So, you know, Jerald loud, yelling, shutting everything down. What you doing? What? I told you to go the other way. What are you doing? Snapping. And I'm like explaining to myself, well, she faked right. And he's like, I ain't ask you all that. I told you to do this. And I was like, oh, all right. So this is how we starting off. So that was like my introduction to Jerald. But I think I was actually just talking to one of his former teammates, former players the other day. We were talking about Jerald, and I was saying how, you know, in my time with Hoops Express, it was rough. Like Jerald was very, very tough on us. And it was a hard time. He's going to get on you. He's going to get you out of your comfort zone. But as you get older and you mature and become an adult, you realize how important those parts of your life was and how important he was in molding you and not only making you into the person you are, but like the woman I am, the character I have came a lot from those practices and him being on us all the time and never letting up and make sure we were doing what we're supposed to do. So I would just say from my time with Hoops Express, I felt like I grew a lot as a player, just in learning the game, learning how to play differently than what I was used to, going out of my comfort zone. Jerald was the first time I ever played a practice without dribbling the ball. You learned a lot from that. So just really like honing in parts of the game that you don't normally want to focus on, and making sure you are able to think the game. And it definitely prepared me for the next level, going to Notre Dame. I played for Muffin McGraw, who was another coach that thinks the game a lot, and you have to be able to process everything, running through Princeton, make reads. And I learned a lot of that with Jerald. And so I felt like as I got, further in my career, I really had a leg up on people because I learned a lot of the things that they learned in college in AAU well before they even had a chance to process those type of things. So I would just say I learned so much from Jerald, and that it was a great experience for me, and that I'm really thankful that I had that time there. And I guess my story would be just that me and Jerald, we bumped heads a lot during my time there. I think I was there from maybe 2004 to 2007. And we bumped heads all the time. And I think my second to last tournament, my senior year, I actually quit. So me and Jerald, he used to drive me to all the games and all the tournaments and everything. So we used to always, just me and him driving to these games and to Southern Illinois or wherever else we were going, like 3-4 hour rides. And it was literally the second to last tournament that we had before I graduated. And yeah, we played, and I don't know what happened during the game, but we kind of got frustrated with each other or something. I don't know what happened. He took me out, and I think I told him I didn't want to go back in or something. And like, he was on me, and I was like, I'm good. And so we got in the car on the way home, and I was like, I'm not coming to the last tournament. I'm done. I'm over it. I quit. This is it for me. And I think by the end of like the 3-hour ride, he was just like, all right, I love you. I'll see you next week. And it was like, all right, cool. And that's just the relationship we had. But like Cherie said, he was tough on us, but it was definitely out of love. And I think deep down we all knew that. And as I got older, I appreciated that. Like Cherie said, me and Jerald still stay in touch to this day, go out to dinner, hang out. So I'm definitely grateful for that time I had with Mr. Express.
All right, Deborah. And just so you all know, in many of those rides, Deborah told me how much she hated basketball and wasn't going to even play after college. She had quite a long career and a couple of WNBA championships. So, all right. Next up, Tony Romiti. Go ahead, Tony. You're still on mute.
Okay, yeah, I took it off. Can you guys hear me? Shake your head up. Okay. So I am Tony Romiti. I'm from the West Suburbs. I started playing for JD pretty late, actually. I used to play for the Lady Dribblers at first. So I started playing for the Lady Dribblers from my freshman to my sophomore summer. And I was going to be from sophomore to June. No, it was after my freshman year. So after my freshman year, I played varsity basketball for Hinsdale South, and we played against Proviso East, who at the time had this really short guard who ended up going to play at ISU. Her name was Rakia Jones, and she was like 4'11", but she was like a little torpedo. Like, she used to be D'ing me up. Like, it used to piss me off so bad. I wanted to punch her. Okay. So basically, after playing against Rakia and Ivory Crawford, who ended up going to U of I decided to play with them because I figured if I could play on the travel team with them, then I wouldn't be as nervous to play against them when it came to the regular season. So me and my sister Tina, who's a year older than me, she started playing with me. And so, yeah, we started playing with the Lady Dribblers. We used to go out to the Boys and Girls Club in Maywood all the time. And honestly, it was like, at the time, I wanted to hang out with my friends. I didn't want to go to those practices on Saturday mornings. It used to piss me off. Me and my sister used to be like, we want to hang out. So after my first season with the Lady Dribblers, we decided that we didn't want to play anymore. So I didn't play travel from the sophomore to junior year. I didn't play basketball. I just hung out and went to, high school basketball camp and shit like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. I take it back. So after that, I decided that I needed to take basketball more serious. So I needed to join a travel team. And one of my teammates, her dad, he got a list together for me of all the travel teams in Chicago, and I was supposed to call them. So he gives me a list, and the first list on the first team on the list says Chicago Hoops Express. So I call, and I'm like, hello? And JD's like, hello, who is this? I'm like, hi, my name's Tony Romiti. I'm a junior at the South, and I'm looking to play for a team. He's like, you any good? I'm like, I think. He's like, he was like, you can come to a practice. It don't mean you on a team, but it's a workout. So then he gave me the address, and I just went to I go to the practice. And at the time, Kathleen Doyle is going to be a freshman. Well, she's a seventh grader going to be an eighth grader. And so I'm playing or whatever, and I'm just starting to get over some tendonitis in my knees that I had a weird growth spurt. And so I used to be kind of like hesitant about playing defense because my knees used to hurt. And I saw the way she was in there crossing people up. So when I get to the practice, I'm like, all right. So I got to guard Kathleen in the first practice. She'd do a little move, but I'm not trying hard because I don't want to get embarrassed by an eighth grader. So I just, I stand there, and she does her move, and then JD comes in. He's like, you know how old she is? I'm like, how old is she? She's like, she in seventh grade. I'm like, oh. He's like, sit down and play defense. You're supposed to sit down. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So then Kathleen comes at me again, and she does another move, and I do a little half-assed job. I try to act like I was doing what JD said, but I knew I wasn't trying still. And then he comes back and says something to me again. I'm like, I did what you said. It didn't work. Sat the whole practice, and he's like, did you come here to get coached, or are you trying to coach me? And mind you, just like all the other ladies said, I was the type of player that, like, up until that point, there was not really a coach that used to kind of like treat me or like put me in my place. My ego is big. I used to be like, oh, whatever. Like, you coaches, like, especially when I was in high school, I had a girl coach, and I used to feel like I could beat you. I had to be like, you can't beat me one-on-one. But so after that day, me and JD, we started to butt heads a bit because I started to get irritated when I would want to go to a concert but not go to practice the next morning. And these were concerts that I had planned. I had these concerts planned way in advance before starting to play with AAU, with Chicago Hoops Express. But then it also started to get irritating because I would try to, tell my sister Irma, who's my guardian, I'd be like, he wants me to come. He wants me to go to this. I don't understand. And both of them are Capricorn. So she's like, he's right. You have a commitment. You have to go. I'm like, shut up. I used to get so mad. But then basically, yeah, JD made me miss out on a couple of concerts. There was actually one concert that I went to that I didn't sleep, and I went to practice for Chicago Hoops Express the next morning. I didn't even go to sleep. I went to go see Calvin Harris, and then I stayed up all night, and then I went. There's actually one time where I went to Drake, and I don't do this in high school, but I got drunk, and I woke up the next morning, and I couldn't go. And my sister, she lied for me and said that her stomach was hurting because she knew that JD wasn't going to hear it. And she lied for me. And I told JD this after it happened, like years later. But yeah, that happened before. But anyway, JD for me was always a good person that always looked out for me. He always was super, like JD's the type of person that, like they said, in practice, he's going to get on you. He's going to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. But outside of basketball, he's the most caring. He cares about you as a person. He makes an effort. A lot of relationships are always one-sided. One person's trying so hard to make it work. But JD makes a relationship, as far as a friendship go, very easy because he doesn't put pressure on you to reach out to him. He doesn't make you feel bad. People like, you never call me. It's like, shut up. JD's not that type of person. which I respect and I appreciate a lot. I always have really good conversations with JD. There was a time where I was really down, like, oh, it was so bad in 2015. And me and JD would go to Portillo's sometimes after he would get off work. And he gave me an envelope when I was just in such a bad place. He gave me an envelope and he said, "This is for good luck." And when I opened it, he gave me $100 in $2 bills. I'm about to cry thinking about this. But yeah, it was just such a, like for me during that time, I was in such a bad place. And for him to give that to me, it just made me so happy. And I remember the next year when I finally got back on my feet and I was making, decent money and stuff like that, me and JD went to Portillo's and I gave him an envelope and I gave him $100 plus $100. I gave it back, but yeah, he's just always been there for me. He's a really good friend. We talk about a lot of different stuff. JD, after I played for him the first year, my senior year in high school, the confidence that he gave me to just be the leader of my team. And man, I averaged 20 points in high school. I ended up dropping 40 on Proviso East my senior year against the girls that I played against and Lady Dribblers and stuff. And yeah, every time he came to my games, he was never the type of person that like after the game, he wouldn't say shit. Like he was just super, just supportive. He's not judgmental. If you ever need to tell JD something, he's never going to be judgmental. You can tell him anything and he's not going to make you feel bad about it. But yeah, I love JD. He's a good guy. And I feel so appreciative that I got to play for the Chicago Hoops Express. He helped me go to college. And when I was in college, JD sent me $50 like every month when I was just in college. He was a really good person. I didn't have a dad growing up. So JD was really awesome. Even in the time that I met him in high school, I was already 16 by the time I met him. But he made a big impact in my life. And I really appreciate him to this day. So I'm an emotional person.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
Yep. Love you, JD.
You too. All right. Next up, Dr. Molly McGue.
Thanks, JD, for having me on the call, too. I started with Hoops Express when I was in high school. I went to Bennett Academy. There's another alum on here, Doyle. I played with Doyle, which is lovely. Anyway, JD recruited two of my teammates before he let me be on the team, Kayla McInerney and Lauren Benson. And I got to join the team like a year later. I had to wait my turn to get a spot for me. Anyway, I played with Hoops Express, I think 3 years. It allowed me to get into Cornell. Never could have dreamed of getting into an Ivy League school without basketball, and JD made it happen. I have so many stories about you, but there was one summer where I went to a camp at Princeton because I really thought I wanted to go to Princeton. And I got there and the coach was kind of not treating me so well. And JD's like, "Screw it, come home, don't do that anymore." So I got home and he ripped this coach apart. He's like, "I can't believe you took her out to your camp. You knew what she was doing. She missed out on all these other camps. I will never, ever, ever send anyone to Princeton after that." He was so loyal. So JD allowed me to get into Cornell, which actually was way better choice than Princeton. And that allowed me so many opportunities. He's been calling me doctor, but I'm an OBGYN in Morristown, New Jersey. It's basically everything has led itself to one another, and all of that started when I got into that college that I got into. I'll try to be brief, but I have a few funny stories about JD. So I went to Bennett Academy. I grew up in a primarily white neighborhood, not much diversity at all. So when I would go to practice, Jerald would try to get me to say things. So I remember one time he's we're all sitting down after practice and he's like, "Molly, you need to say why you trick on me." And I'm like, "I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say it in that way." And he made me say it 100 times until I sounded right, which was super embarrassing. I think my face was bright red. And then the other thing, I think about him like almost every day because I have an 8-month-old son, and little babies, they're always like waving their arms around like this. But Jerald from the sideline, when he was calling plays, would always be like, he'd be like, ah! And like shake his arms around, and it would mean like run under the basket and around to the other side. But my son is just like always like this, and I'm like, I can see Jerald doing that. Yeah, those are my Jerald stories. I'm thankful forever for like the experience with diversity, for getting me into college. I'm more appreciative of people from different backgrounds. I think everyone brings a certain amount of strength to life, and now I would never look at someone from where they're from, the race, the religion, anything like that, and just like get to know the person they are. And I think like Hoops Express really started that for me. So thanks, JD.
Okay, thanks, Molly. All right, so from this point, all of our alum, we gotta shorten you all up. We let the older alums talk a little bit longer. So just get straight to it. Kathleen.
Hi, everyone. I can echo a lot of what Molly was saying, just about like growing up in a primarily white neighborhood, and going to Hoops Express definitely like expanded my worldview, and it pushed me out of my comfort zone, basketball-wise and personally. And I made some of my best friends playing AAU for Jerald, and I'll forever be grateful for that. My Jerald story, I think it was like 6th or 7th grade. I was going to these flash practices, and we walked in, and my dad started talking to this big guy, and I'm like, who is this? Like, little Kathleen doesn't know what's going on. And I get pulled aside with like 3 other girls, and Jerald has me play one-on-one against these girls for like, it felt like 5 hours. I was exhausted at this point, but I knew that I had to give these people buckets because I could tell this man was important. And let's just say it turned out well, because then Jerald had me play for Hoops Express, and he helped me get to where I am today. And yeah, I'm just always going to be grateful for everything that Jerald has done for me and the friends that I've made in Hoops Express. And yeah, it's just a really special program to me. And yeah, just so many amazing memories that have helped me get to where I am today. And his guidance is something that I'm always going to be really grateful for. So thanks, JD. Love you.
All right, thanks, Kathleen. And it was really exciting talking to you today. You got drafted. And Alyssa and Autumn were here, excited. So congrats.
Thank
All
you.
Right. Marche.
All right. Hey, so as Jerald mentioned, I was with him, or I joined in 2002, so I was in 7th grade, and there wasn't a lot of younger people there. It was only maybe me and a couple other people, but yeah, I didn't have really a consistent coach. I mean, I started playing basketball in 3rd grade, and each year just had a new coach. And even in high school, I went through 5 coaches in 4 years. I went to a small D3 school, Concordia, Chicago. My coach that recruited me, she left after my freshman year. So I had a lot of different coaches in my my basketball career, I guess. But Jerald was the constant. And even after college now, coaching with him, we've been together quite some time, a very long time. But one story that I have lots of stories, but with the time, the one that sticks out the most, I think I was maybe a freshman. It was like the summer going to our freshman year, and we had a tournament in North Carolina, and he's yelling and going crazy as always. I don't know what I did, but we're on offense, and he's like screaming at me, and a girl fouls me, so I'm about to shoot free throws, and it's supposed to be quiet, and he's still yelling and screaming at me while I'm shooting free throws, and afterwards pulls me out, continues to yell at me, and then puts me back in. And I'm just thinking, this man is nuts. But that was Jerald. You know, you younger players, and I talk to you guys about that all the time because I coach you guys. You all have the nicer version of him, and it's kind of trippy to see him, evolved from 2002 to 2020, how he's changed and softened up on you guys. But that's all right. I'll be tough on you guys, and Kim will be tough on you guys.
All right. Next up, Kimberly Coleman.
All right. Well, the first time I met Jerald, he yelled at me right away. So, but I think I've been kind of one of the fortunate ones to kind of play for him and still be around him. Now, I definitely second what Marche said. He is definitely a lot softer than what he was back when I played for him, but still kind of hard on me. But I definitely think Jerald has always been in my corner. He's always been probably one of the first people I call when I hear anything. And we're constantly talking and communicating, and he's always just been a big motivator for me and a second dad. So it's been an honor having him in my life. I won't take too much time.
All right, Kim. All right. Angela, you'll be last since you're the youngest. So next up, we'll go with my daughter, Alyssa Moore.
Well, hello. So as you all know, JD is my dad. Of course, he is a dad to everyone on the team. So basically, coming into CHE, I came in 7th grade. I also played with Kathleen. 5th grade. Oh my God. I played with, wow, okay. So came into 5th grade. He coached me and Autumn and Kathleen for the Flash team. Came in, played with him since 5th grade. Also, just like a lot of the stories that everyone was talking about, JD was definitely the type of person that would, I remember at some point I got fouled one time, Marche, and I was like, JD, someone poked me in my eye, and he was like, shoot with the other eye. So I was like at the free throw line, shooting with one eye, airballed, It was embarrassing, but, JD always taught us to just keep pushing regardless injuries. He'll pull us out. Me and JD will always get into it, and then he'll put me back in. But, like everyone said, JD has gotten soft, which he has. He has gotten very soft on everybody. But I truly appreciate JD, just everything that he's done for me and for the past, some years. And I really love him a lot.
All right, thanks, Alyssa. All right, Autumn.
Hello. I'm actually in the same house as him, so I just went upstairs. Hey, y'all. So I'm Autumn. I'm one of JD's other daughters, in addition to all y'all. But as my dad said, I didn't play for a very long time. I did a lot of competitive sports when I was younger. I think him and my mom both instilled that in me, but like he said, I was always around CHE from the time I was born. So people on this call, they remember me from a lot of different times in my life. Like, I used to terrorize some of the players on this call. Like, they used to have to watch me when I was little, and I was just a bad kid. I just did whatever I wanted. But they loved me. And I always had someone taking care of me. And I think I had a lot of role models growing up that I didn't even realize were my role models. Until I got a lot older, and I used to see them, and I used to be like, oh, I remember this person used to do this, and that's kind of why I got interested in this. Or yeah, and then the people I used to play with, so like I said, I didn't play for a long time, but playing from 5th grade to right before high school with Alyssa, Kathleen, just our whole team. I remember making some really good friends on that team. And also just really learning about myself through the people and through basketball and through the other sports that I was playing, but mainly just the lessons that were instilled in me through that. And I ended up going to school to study anthropology and sociology. And I think a big part of my interest in cultures and languages and people was the very multifaceted background I had growing up, not only in the city of Chicago, but also growing up within Hoops Express and seeing all of those people from so many different places, throughout the city, throughout the country, different nationalities, ethnicities, everything. And we were all we were just family. We were little kids together. We would joke around together. People would just I'd be on the piggyback of random people that I didn't know, but they all cared for me so deeply. And I think it was that compassion of knowing other people and really caring for them, regardless of whatever differences you might have had, even during the game, after the game, whatever. I think that's really what gave me a profound and very deep interest in people. So it was definitely a big part of my growing up, even if I wasn't like on the court, it's always something like I've carried with me and been able to be a part of from like multiple capacities. So I've been very appreciative of that. So I think it just speaks to how holistic the game is too. So yeah.
All right, Angela.
Hello. So I joined Chicago Hoops Express in what was like end of 8th grade or middle of 8th grade. And so I've played for JD for 5 years. I've known him for 5 years. But I played with another AAU team before that, and my experience with that AAU team was just not good at all. So I was debating, like, should I keep going with basketball or should I, switch sports? So one of my teammates, Dylan, actually, she's like, come try out for JD. So I did, and I've stayed. I'm all about loyalty. I think like that's just like key to whether it's just like any relationship, whether it's coaches or whatnot. So my coaches, both for high school and for AAU, have been consistent. I've relationship with them, and Jay helped me. I mean, a lot. Because he helped me a lot with college. Just like everything seemed like surreal once like colleges started recruiting you, and I talked to these other girls from different AAU teams, and they're like, yeah, our like coaches don't exactly help, or it's harder to get coaches to look at you when like he's only helping one girl, not us. And JD, he wants every girl to like fulfill their dreams, whether it's go to college or whatnot. So he's been there for me since the start. So but the one story when I think of JD, which always just like pops up in my head, is I think this was my sophomore or junior year. JD, he calls me hardhead because I don't have like a mouth or anything. I don't talk back. I just, whenever he says something, I don't exactly do it. And it's not that I don't want to. I really, really want to. It's just during the game, it's like everything's blank in my head. Like I just do, whatever. And during practice, I didn't do what he said, and he's just had enough of it. So he stops practice and he starts yelling in my face, and everyone's staring, and I'm just like looking at him like I don't know what to do. And he's like, if you want, get out of practice. Like, and I was like, I just shook my head. I was like, no. And he's like, are you trying to like play with me? And I was like, no, like I just want to keep playing. And he's like, well, do what I say. So I did what he said, and it obviously worked. But JD's just he on me, I don't know how he was before. I mean, I've heard he was harder before, but like my 5 years, he's always been on me, and I'm not complaining. I think that's what made me who I am today, and like my successes that I have and whatnot. But JD, he's just not only is he a coach, like everyone said, he's a father figure, and he just loves every single one of us, whether you're one of the best on the team, worst, whatever. I mean, he considers everyone his daughters, and so I think that's the biggest thing that sticks out about him.
All right, Don.
All right.
Everybody, thanks for your patience. So it's on your show now.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jacob. I think Jacob's going to start talking to the current players, and I think he's going to start with Dylan. If you want to unmute yourself, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks everybody again for being a part of this. I've only personally been covering girls basketball for about 1.5 years now, so I know many of you alum by reputation, but getting to actually virtually meet you and hear your stories about your background, where you are now, is great to hear. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And now moving on to you current players. We got 8 of you on here. And I just wanted to ask a few questions, just highlight you guys. That's what Prep Girls Hoops does. We highlight the current players, we give them the spotlight, and that's what these videos we're wanting to do as well. So thank you, 8, for hopping on with us. And I do want to start with Dylan, the lone senior on the call. Just a little bit about your game, Dylan. Just kind of tell us what you would consider the strengths in your game.
I think the strength in my game is that do all like the little stuff. Like I hustle a lot. My defense is what I work on the most. I try to create my offense from my defense, and so on the attacking end, I'm not always like the first one driving to the basket, but I am the one looking for my teammates looking to shoot, and then I just hustle. I'll dive to the floor. I just do all the stuff that people don't always want to do.
Right, right. And were there certain areas you focused on your senior season that you saw improvements on that you kind of wanted to up your abilities there?
Definitely like my on-ball defense, because my junior year I didn't really guard the point guards as much. It'd be usually Rachel, who's at St. Louis now. So I tried to focus on that more, get improvements there, as well as my shooting and attacking.
Okay. All right, great. And then what are areas then of your game now that you still want to kind of focus in on and improve?
Still my shooting, because that can always get better. Shooting, just finding new ways to get to the basket.
Okay, got it. And now you, like I said, you're the lone senior on this call. You finished out your remarkable career a few months ago. It's May, graduation's coming up. Are you still kind of navigating what your next steps are?
Kind of. When I go where I'm going, I'm probably gonna either try and go for a walk-on or possibly just play club and go from there.
Okay. All right. Great stuff. Well, thank you, Dylan, for again joining us and for answering those questions. We'll move on to the juniors then. We'll start with Lauren at Glenbard South. And Lauren, kind of just the same first question that I asked Dylan there. Just what are your strengths in your game from your perspective?
I'd say my strengths, one would be floor leadership, and then what I focus most on is my defense, and I could pick them up full court and just dog them the entire time. And then I really just like to make the game easy. I don't try and be all flashy. I just make simple moves.
Okay, got it. And then this past basketball season, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to watch you play this year. What are some areas you saw improve throughout the season?
So with my high school, we run a little bit of a slower offense. So the past years, I've been struggling with scoring. But this year, I think I really pushed myself and scored as much as possible. But I think my range has really increased with shooting and then taking players one-on-one.
Okay, awesome. And then this summer, once we do get basketball back in, what are areas you're trying to focus on improving in your game?
I'm focusing on my dribbling and then strength and conditioning, just building as much muscle as possible.
All right, great. And last time we spoke kind of about your recruiting back in October at the top 250, just interest and things like that. Throughout your season, throughout these last couple months, have you seen any changes? Have you kind of honed in on what type of schools you're looking for?
I said again, it skipped over. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. I was just asking, when last time we spoke, we talked about your recruiting interest, things like that. Over the past season, over the past couple months, has anything changed with that? Or have you even yourself kind of thought about different schools you're looking into in terms of size, what you want to study, things like that?
So I made an unofficial visit to Illinois State. I got offered a roster spot. And then I've been in contact with a couple other smaller schools. I've just been texting and emailing them.
Okay, great. Good stuff. Thank you, Lauren, for hopping on and for answering the question. Next, we will go with Zoe. Zoe, could you take yourself off mute, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. And saw Kenwood play a lot, you and Whitney and the others. Great team, great season. For you in your game, what are kind of areas that you're considering your strengths?
Some of my strengths would be my rebounding, and I would say my mid-range jump shot.
Okay. Okay. Good. And what are things you saw improve on this last season, maybe compared to last AAU season even?
My defense.
Okay, gotcha. Are you one? I know you kind of play a 4-5 combination with Kenwood. Are you guarding more post players? Did you guard more guards this past year?
Yeah, more post players.
More post players. Okay, great. And then this summer, again, what are some things you're trying to improve on to elevate your game?
I'm trying to extend my shot to the 3-point and work on finishing through contact.
All right, awesome. And recruiting wise, I know you also were able to bring in a couple different offers throughout the season. When this whole lockdown, the quarantine started maybe a couple months ago, how has recruiting and contact with coaches been different from before?
Now it's been a bunch of phone calls and FaceTime calls or like online tours and stuff.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you then, Zoe, for joining us and for being able to answer a few questions. Next in the class of 2021, we'll go with Isabella.
Hello.
She's still here?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, great. I just didn't see it, but thanks for joining us, Isabella. Again, your game, you're at Loyola, and I was able to watch Loyola once or twice this year. So for your game, what are some strengths and some areas that you feel strong about in your game right now?
I would say my biggest strength is just my physicality and not being scared of height or any of, the other factors of someone being, better, more talented just because I am an undersized post. And I would say that playing with a lot of the girls in my high school team for a long time, I just have been able to read their next moves, and we have a good relationship when it comes to knowing what everyone's going to be doing and how to see the floor better.
Okay, cool. And what are areas of your game this past season that you saw improvements on, or that you even worked on compared to maybe last summer?
I think I improved much more on my defense and just not being overly aggressive and when is the right time to fall, not making any dumb, stupid mistakes. And I would also say just being a little more confident with my outside shot towards the end of the season. I actually started taking it more. And just reading the floor and when is the right time to drive, when is the right time to pass, and just being smarter overall.
Okay, good. And you mentioned shooting and kind of working on that. I assume that is an area you're looking to work on this summer. What else are some things you're looking to add or improve upon?
I would say just my speed and not having one complete overall speed and just being able to slow down and read the floor, and just my dribbling as well, because I am smaller, so I have to be able to play from the outside. So being able to take someone off the dribble quickly but controlled. So my footwork.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Isabella, for joining us and for answering a few questions here. Next, we'll go to Savannah.
Hello.
Hi, Savannah. Going back to strengths in your game. So compared to the previous, maybe even summer, what are some areas that you saw were the focus of your game this past season?
I think getting to the basket and running the floor and engaging with my teammates inside and outside of the gym.
Okay. And then are those areas that you saw improvements on, or are there other areas that you saw take another level with your game this year too?
I started attacking more and not like relying on other teammates to finish, I think.
Okay, great. And then for the future, when we get back in the gym, what are some areas you're looking to improve on?
My jump shot, definitely. And pushing myself past my limit of when I like feel like giving up or because I'm tired, to just like keep going and finish strong.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Savannah. Jocelyn.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Jocelyn. What are your game there? You are at Proviso, we said East?
West.
West. So Proviso West then. What are some areas you are considering the strengths of your game?
I would say my strengths are having a sense and good feel of the game. I have strong defense. My jump shots are solid. I'm very aggressive throughout the game, and I'm confident knowing what the other team is doing, and I will take a challenge.
Okay, awesome. I love the mentality. And what were areas then you saw for your junior season kind of take a new level compared to your sophomore season or last season with AAU?
So freshman year or sophomore year, I didn't really speak up, so I feel like my game improved in speaking up. Also, I feel like my I score better. I have good defense. My defense improved well, and just communicate more with my teammates.
Okay, great. And then this summer, this fall, what are some areas you're looking to improve on?
I will improve on developing my shooting form to shoot consistently well, faster footwork, ball handling, and explosiveness.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Jocelyn, for joining us and for answering a few questions for us here. Now moving on, class of 2022. We'll start with Layla out of Stagg High School. Layla, hi. What are you right now as the point guard, considering some of the strengths in your game?
Definitely my ball handling is one of my biggest ones, and just being able to set my teammates up, pushing the tempo and making it a faster, high intense game, and just taking it to the basket.
All right, awesome. And then what are areas you saw improve on from last summer, last fall, even your sophomore season?
During my high school season, I saw a big improvement on my leadership, and I had to take more lead. My shooting has gotten better, and shooting off the pass and being able to find teammates. And my physicality, I'm not afraid to take a charge and get the rebounds, even though I'm small.
Great, great. Then what are things you're looking to improve on this coming summer or this coming fall before your senior season? Or sorry, junior season.
I definitely want to get better at defense and just be able to like dog them in full court and just have full consistency throughout the whole game and gain more muscle. That's
All right. Yeah, great. Great. Thanks, Layla. Lastly, but not least, Whitney Dunn out of Kenwood.
Hello.
Hi, Whitney. Whitney, your your sophomore season, what were some of your strengths that you consider in your game?
I think it's defense and being able to shoot from different ranges, more so the 3-pointers.
Okay, great. And what are areas, because I agree, you're definitely a really good shooter. In freshman season, I noticed that right away. Sophomore season, I noticed a little bit of a different player. What are some things you saw change in your sophomore season in your game?
My aggressiveness, like I used to always depend on other people to like score or like do things that I know I could do. So like just taking advantage of the opportunity to go score. I started doing more of that.
Great. Yep, I definitely noticed that as well. And this summer, then this fall, what are some areas you're looking to improve on to take your game to an even higher level?
My ball handling, I want to become like more comfortable with the ball and more comfortable playing the point guard position to like take the weight off of some of my other teammates.
Okay, great. And kind of like I talked with Zoe about just recruiting, you were also able to pull in a few offers throughout the season over the last couple months, over maybe even since January. What have you seen in recruiting in terms of the contact with coaches? Now with you just being a sophomore, you can't have as much, but what have you seen even since this shutdown started and how coaches have been able to communicate with you?
It's definitely like different. It's a little weird because like you're kind of like more comfortable with seeing them in person and like just hearing them talk about the school and like what they're about and what they're saying. It kind of makes you want to go and visit them more. I think that's like the stressful part about it is that you can't like go right now.
Right, definitely. All right, awesome. Well, thanks, Whitney. And again, girls, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for taking the time here to talk with us just about your game, about some recruiting and things like that. Don, I'll kick it back to you to close us out. But again, Thank you all for joining us.
Great. Thanks for going through that, Jacob. I guess before I close anything out, I want to throw back to you real quick, JD. Is there anything that you want to add or anything that we missed? I know we got a little quick towards the end of some of that. So is there anything you wanted to add before we end up?
No, just let you guys know how much I appreciate you all taking this time with us. Gave me a chance to share the program, but also see some of my players who I desperately miss, and see some of my alum. So I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, as do we. I don't think I made it any secret, but I'll make sure that it goes on this video. The reason we chose to jump in with the Hoops Express Club first is not only because of the long and storied history, but because there's just in the little bit of time that I've had an opportunity to interact with JD. He's done quite a few nice things for me, helping me get in touch with players and so on and so forth. So I wanted to do this to show our gratitude for what he does for us. So I do appreciate everybody taking the time. I know obviously ended up longer than what we expected, but that's the way it goes when you get a bunch of fun people together who enjoy each other's company, enjoy telling stories about their old coach. So I could care less if it took 2 hours. It was fun. So I appreciate everybody jumping in. JD, appreciate you doing this, and good luck to everybody, getting through the situation we're in, and good luck to hopefully getting back to some basketball. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Thank you.